Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and I've been playing The Sims 4 since it came out way back 9 years ago, and within those 9 years, I've obviously created an awful lot of Sims. Am I gonna stand here and say that I have created a Sim and played with a Sim that has every single trait in The Sims 4? Yeah, I absolutely am. I genuinely think I may have played with all of these traits once upon a time. It might have been a long while since I have decided to play as a Sim with some of these traits. And of course, within that time, I've done an awful lot of tier ranking videos because if you know me, you know I love talking about The Sims. I just love going on little rants about a game that I really like. And so today, I am actually going to be tier ranking all of the personality traits that are available in The Sims 4 Create a Sim. Honestly, I'm kind of excited for this just because I feel like it's gonna jog my memory of certain traits and aspects of them, and also maybe switch up my trait choosing a little bit. So I actually didn't make this tier list. I will link it down below. However, the original was in French, but I have, of course, made it my own with my categories that I like to use for these tier list videos. And over here, I'm fairly sure I have gone through the list and double checked that we have every single trait available. I actually feel like I use active a fair amount. I don't know why either, because I don't have like super sporty Sims. And it's just like not the most interesting trait in The Sims 4. If you are focusing on the athletic skill, or you really want someone to be like really good at working out, it's probably beneficial to you. To the average player, I feel like it's practically useless because all it really does is changes your moodlets a little bit more. They get energized quite frequently, which is just annoying because in The Sims 4, we all know that just means that they do sit-up and push-ups the entire time. And they'll also live slightly longer as elders, but that is about it. So I'm actually gonna put this in Grim. Loves the outdoors. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion. Some people look at this like category of traits, which are like hobby traits, and are like, these are absolutely useless. Why are they in the game? Why do they still exist? I love a hobby. You will hear me shouting it from the rooftops at any given opportunity. And I really like hobby traits as well. I mean, again, all it really does is give your Sims moodlets, and that's what a lot of traits in The Sims 4 do. I feel like traits were so much better in The Sims 3. I honestly want to do like a comparison video between Sims 3 and Sims 4 traits because Sims 3 actually like unlocks a lot more, especially like under the surface when it comes to your Sims. So whilst I do use this a lot, now that I'm thinking about it, honestly, still kind of average. Animal enthusiast. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this one. I genuinely want to put all of the like animal related ones in Tragic Clown. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore cottage living, and if that's like a story that I want to go for, like the cottage core want a farm life, then yeah, absolutely. I probably will make an animal enthusiast because they get happy around animals, and when they're interacting with like chickens or cows, they feel as if they are actually interacting with them and getting energized from that. But I genuinely never ever outside of that will use these traits. Music lover is yet another hobby trait, and honestly, this one's going straight into Rosebud. I make music lovers quite a lot. Now, I don't know if that comes from like my own personal relationship with music. I think it more so comes from the fact that I really like that musical Sims and music lovers will kind of gravitate towards playing instruments, and I actually use instruments an awful lot. However, art lover, right there in Tragic Clown, I could not care less. If I have an artistic Sim, I'm rarely ever gonna make them an art lover. All these Sims like to do is view paintings, and unless it's one that like actually changes a moodlet within the game, looking at art is so useless to me. That's why I think like traits in The Sims 4 aren't super great, because so many of them rely on like a buggy emotion system. I constantly go on about The Sims 4 being built on the emotion emotion system, and how I really hope any future iteration of the game doesn't do the same, because now that we have so many packs, we have so many traits, we have so many different objects and emotions and things that can tie into that emotion system, your sim is constantly either conflicting against each other and it changes all of the time, and so you can't really run with it for like stories or anything because it changes so much, or they just stay in like a happy mood forever, and it's just like, why is there eternal happiness? Why does nothing ever go wrong in The Sims 4? Why is there no negativity? Oh my goodness gracious me. Ambitious Sims, again, another one that I use an awful lot. And do I use this for the easiness of this trait? Yes, absolutely. Ambitious Sims are actually way more likely to get promotions or raises in their career. They also get tenths if they aren't being promoted fast enough. So whilst it does kind of rely on the emotion system, it's not the only thing that comes into play when it comes to ambitious Sims. So it's going next to Music Lover. I honestly haven't even thought about what is going to be in Motherload. I mean, I'll know it when I get there. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I sound like fucking Shona and Brad out of maths. I really like adventurous. Not gonna lie, I did fully just think that this had to do with, you know, like doing risky sports like rock climbing, snowboarding. Obviously, this was introduced with Snowy Escape, so it's no surprise that that's really what I thought it like lent into a lot. But now that I'm reading the attributes of this, they don't panic when there's a fire and try to put it out straight away, get bored when eating quick meals, will get a +1 happy on an adventure when going on an excursion or going vacationing, going into the secret agent career, riding an acquisite. They get inspired from eating gourmet food or experimental food, bored from performing the same skill too often. Honestly, hands down, going into Motherload. I'm sorry, but that's why I want to see out of Sims 4 traits. That really sounds like it's a Sims 3 trait, in the sense that it has like under the bonnet workings, and you're never really going to pay like too much attention to it, but it's sick that the Sims team thought of those things and like related it back to base game, and it's not only just like Snowy Escape, and it kind of is dependent on other packs, not only Snowy Escape. That's what I want to see more from Sims 4 traits. Adventurous Sims. Let me get a little adventurous with you, please and thank you. Same again with Proper. The team actually blew me out of the water when it came to Snowy Escape traits. What was the exception here? Why are they so in-depth in comparison to other Sims 4 traits? They have more respectful romantic interactions, attempt to swoon, court, and propose scandalous question. I never really choose Proper as a trait because I genuinely just thought it meant like they gave proper introductions more frequently. They also apparently cannot get into fights, and whilst it's not as good as Adventurous for me, it's definitely not gonna go into Motherload. I do like how it has a bit more depth. However, I still, even knowing all of that, probably wouldn't like continue to use it all that frequently. I think it has a time and a place, and I think it's really fun that you can show off your Sims personality in that way, and I do think it's a personality trait for that reason, and so I'm gonna put it in average. I probably will use it more now that I know those things if I feel like it's appropriate for a Sim. Good Sims will refuse to woohoo in a coffin. That's all I needed to know. I do actually really like Good Sims though. I think good is really good. I'm sorry for using good so much for storytelling, and I actually love how positive they are. They'll actually like frequently do friendly interactions. They actually do, depending on their trait, get some unlocked interactions. Like they can discuss world peace, and I just think it's kind of wholesome. They don't like other Sims shouting forbidden words. It's actually one of the longest lists when it comes to attributes. So I'm actually gonna put this just one below Motherload. Slob Sims, this might be because obviously I have an unrequited love with Salim. I adore that man so much. He's the only man for me in The Sims 4. That's a lie. But I love Slob Sims. I love the fact that they don't really get fussed by things being messy. I love, like, obviously in city living, that's really accurate because you can have like stains and things on the walls, on the floor. It's kind of one of those traits that you can see working in your game with your own eyes because they don't like clean up as much and therefore like mess will gather. And I think I really, really like traits that you kind of have like definitive proof of, and Slob definitely feels that way. Creative, I'm sorry, but she is just like the carry of all carries when it comes to Sims 4 traits. I have creative Sims so often. It affects so many different hobbies that I really enjoy doing. Yes, this might be more for my own personal playstyle. I will have like musicians be creative, bakers, artists, photographers. Honestly, it is the one trait that I probably lean on the most in The Sims 4, and it just has to go in Motherload. It doesn't offer that much outside of the inspired moodlet, but I think again, because they tend to gravitate to those like creative hobbies, which is something that I really like doing in my Sims 4 game, I lean on it. It is basically my crutch. Take away creative Sims and I'm not gonna know what to do in my game. Hates children. This is one that I really don't use that often, so I don't think it can go in Motherload, but again, I like how you can see it working within the game. I like that Sims can be mean to kids. I really like that they do that autonomously. I always say Sims 4 needs more negative traits, and therefore going straight into Rosebud. They may hate children. I have to say the only thing that I hate about that trait is the fact that they will, at any given opportunity, smash a dollhouse, and it's so annoying to constantly repair. Recycle Disciple. Oh my goodness gracious me. I love Eco Lifestyle. It's one of my favorite packs ever released for The Sims 4, but this trait is so annoying. I don't think it's as insignificant as the ones we currently have in Tragic Clown, so I'm not gonna put it in there, but if you ever have a Recycle Disciple and you notice that things are going missing on your lot, it's because of these people. If they don't recycle in like 3 to 4 days, they will steal things and recycle them. Like they'll just swipe them and recycle them automatically for bits and pieces. Squeamish, not gonna lie, pretty average. I like the animations that come with Squeamish. I like that if you go to Outdoor Retreat or Salvadorada and there's like creepy crawlies, they can really like be icked out by that. And I like their little like squirms. I do use it a fair bit, but I will say it's not like the most noticeable trait. It's actually honestly a little bit forgettable outside of the animations. Self-absorb honestly kind of relies on emotions a little bit too much for me. Like there are certain occasions where the Sims will get angry if they're not getting enough attention. They'll get like happy when they get presents. The only thing that they can really do is fish for compliments, and that's just not the most entertaining interaction for me. I think it's nice for storytelling, but I wish that more was done with this trait. I wish like they constantly like check themselves out in mirrors. I wish that they just like constantly talked about themselves instead of like asking people questions. I wish that it was harder for them to like build relationships. I feel like that's what traits need to do a little bit more, is actually, rather than just having an effect on your own Sims emotions, affect the other Sims around you emotions. Like they can get angry at self-absorbed Sims because they only will talk about themselves and talk your ear off, and then they don't pay attention or don't ask you anything about yourself. It is going in Grim. It's not quite as annoying as Recycle Disciple, so it gets one above that. I'm sorry to all of the self-absorbed Sims out there. Nancy Langrab, I'm looking at you, even though I know she's not self-absorbed, because that came with High School Years and she came with Base Game. Oh, bloody hell. One of the most annoying traits. I'm sorry to those of you who like little water babies, alright? I love being around water. If I was a Sim, I may even have this. I would have preferred it to be called like Water Lover instead of Child of the Ocean, but I understand because it came with obviously Island Living and obviously Sulani, but they get uncomfortable when eating fish, which is fun. I like that, alright? That might honestly bump it up to average for me, but I feel like I just roll this all of the time. I feel like I have a personal hatred against this trait because they are randomized so much within my game. They are actually unable to drown in The Sims 4, which I think is kind of cool, but yeah, just a pretty average trait to me. And I genuinely think that suffers because of like the lack of mermaids and like mermaid powers and what mermaids can actually do. I feel like if mermaids were more powerful, I would use this more, and also it could relate to mermaid powers way better. Kind of like like the Child of the Island one, because when you have this one, you can have an event with the island spirits, you can interact with them easier. It's not like the most in-depth trait I feel like The Sims 4 has, but I do think it's better than Child of the Ocean. I still don't think it's the best, so I'm gonna put it still in average, but like higher up. I love a high maintenance sim. I feel like it's really, really good for divas. I feel like high maintenance is what Self-Absorbed maybe could have also been like. Basically, everything just pisses off high maintenance sims, which I think is hilarious. Like, if the sun is out, they'll get like itching skin from being in the sun. If they have a shower, then sometimes they can get like shampoo in their eyes. It kind of reminds me of the unlucky trait, honestly, in The Sims 3, and that was one of my favorite traits in there. So I'm actually gonna put this in Rosebud. Honestly, I think this is a great trait. I know I kind of sound like a broken record. Sometimes I really like traits depending on emotions, especially when they're entertaining, like high maintenance. Other times I'm like, they rarely do anything. Like, they'll just give you a little bit of like a +2 to an emotion that you already have, and it's not the most interesting. That is one of the more interesting ones in my personal opinion. Outgoing, something that I use a lot. Is it that great? Probably not. I don't even know why I go for outgoing. Like, I'm not a very outgoing person. I'm very much an introvert, and it doesn't really do much in the game. Like, they will go and talk to people, I feel, more frequently, but everyone in The Sims 4 talks to each other anyway. So now that I'm thinking about it, it can definitely go up there with athletic. Their social need does actually decay a little bit quicker than the regular Sims, which I kind of like that added little bit of difficulty, but that's pretty much it. And I've never even gone out of my way to think, oh, I want this Sim's social need to decay more quickly, so therefore I'll go for outgoing. Makers, it's a hobby trait. However, it only really relates to eco lifestyle. It relates to the woodworking table, which justice for the woodworking table. We should get an update on that literally every time a new pack comes out. We should have new furniture. It's so annoying. Basically, they get moodlets when they're using the fabricator, candle making station, juice fizzer, and woodworking. I don't think, again, it's as significant as these, and it's also not as annoying as Recycle Disciple, but it's going with its little friend over here. However, Freegan, the third and I'm fairly sure final trait that came with eco lifestyle, I honestly find this one quite fun, honestly, and that's because it adds difficulty to my game. They hate conventional jobs. They actually will not mind eating spoiled food, which is honestly quite fun. I think it's good for storytelling. I really like Freegan. Honestly, I might put it in Motherload because also their ease of like finding higher quality items when they go dumpster diving and things like that. I really wish that if you had eco lifestyle, they would put dumpsters in other worlds. It's so annoying to me. Unflirty, very good for storytelling. Also offers representation. I know so many people who are Arrow or Ace who actually use this trait and really feel like it represents them. Yes, there are definitely things that they could do better with it, don't get me wrong, but I do really like that this is included in the game for that reason, and I actually think it's just a really fun trait. So it's going in Rosebud for me. Geek Sims all comes down to pretty much collectibles and video gaming. Again, it's a trait that I honestly find myself attracted to an awful lot. Like, I will throw it on a bunch of Sims. I use it more for the personality factor of like, this is what I imagine this Sim is, rather than like, oh, these are actually way better at finding collectibles. However, I guess I do have a lot of gamer Sims, and they do become like focused when gaming, which is actually super helpful. I also have Sims like play chess a lot. I use Geek to kind of equal intelligence as well in The Sims 4, because obviously playing chess gets up your logic skill, and I think Geeks actually also get focused really easily off chess. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm actually gonna put this in Rosebud. Genius, I love Genius. It goes the same as creative for me. If I have Sims who are into handiness, if I really want Sims to be into the logic skill, or just kind of those skills that I do, again, think kind of resemble intelligence to me personally, like the rocket science skill, even like writing and stuff like that, I use the genius trait an awful lot. I mean, I can't relate to it, but I do enjoy it. Glutton, I really don't use that often, purely because eating takes so long in The Sims 4. I do like, again, that it has that tangible thing that you can actually see happening in your game. I just don't think it's the most interesting. Although I do like how when they eat, they actually have a slightly different animation because they're like ravenous and therefore they basically just stuff it in their gobs. So therefore it's going in average. Foodie, I only ever really use if I have someone who is either a food critic in city living or if someone's like into making food as their career. So I really don't use it all that often. They basically just get happy when they eat good food. They also watch the cooking channel more. Maybe this is just like a personal thing to me. I'm gonna put it in Grim. Did Eco Lifestyle come with 4 different traits? Green Fiend is here too. What the heck does Green Fiend do? They'll get inspired when performing green activities such as gardening. Kind of good, I guess, if you have gardeners. I actually play with a lot of gardeners and I never ever use Green Fiend. I actually tend to lean on Loves the Outdoors more than Green Fiend. Honestly, very, very forgettable for me. I don't really care about the environmental changes in Eco Lifestyle. One of the most boring parts of that pack for me is actually going in Tragic Clown. Sorry, you're forgettable. Childish. Destiny's childish. I think they're really, really fun to play as. I like them being a little bit goofy. I like the fact that they can kind of go towards those more childish activities. This sentence is something I never ever thought I would say here on my channel, but this may just pump it up to motherload for me. If a nearby sim farts, they will laugh and clap like a child sim does rather than react in disgust. I really like childish. I'm sorry, I don't use it all that often, but I will after reading that fun fact. Fart fact, I guess you could call it. Erratic sims, I like the interactions that kind of come with this, or I guess the like idle animations and interactions that come. These sims can actually talk to themselves and actually get up their social need. They also share this with the paranoid trait in which they can talk about conspiracy theories. However, I will say it doesn't have like a big effect on what they're into and stuff like that, so therefore it's going into crumple bottom. Insider, this is basically the worst trait ever. I really don't like Insider. I never give it to sims because they just get bored of not being in a group. Lactose intolerant, I kind of agree with people when they say that like dietary requirements shouldn't really be part of a sim's personality. It's not as bad now that we get actually like 5 trait slots. I just don't personally find it all that fun to play with because it's kind of restrictive when it comes to actual gameplay. Like thinking about making lactose-free things, it's the same with vegetarian. It's just like a lot to think about. Like I like that they exist in the game and I'm glad that once again people can represent themselves and they can play with these and it's relatable to them. That's a big win for me. Are they my favorite traits? No, but I will put them in average because I like that they exist. Jealous, honestly, motherload. When she was introduced, I was like, how do we not have a jealous trait? I genuinely love it. I think jealous sims are so petty. I think it's one of the most interesting traits we have in The Sims 4. I will die on this hill. Whenever I've played a jealous sim, they have brought the drama. If a sim is near a couple and they don't have someone with them, they may get envious. Cheerful, they tend to just do like either playful or funny interactions and friendly interactions. I use it a fair amount. They're just in a silly, goofy mood all of the time. But it is kind of average when you think about it. I think I would prefer to use good over cheerful, now that I know more about good. Klepto, absolutely love it. The only downside to Klepto is that one moodlet when you have already stolen something and then you have like a timeout, basically. I do definitely think there are things that they could do to update this trait to make it like feel better, but I just think it's so interesting. I'm so glad that it's like a staple of the franchise. I just really like negative traits because I think they make the game way more interesting. Mean, honestly can slightly get annoying because I feel like they want to fight everyone at any given opportunity. So it's going in Rosewood. I don't think it's perfect, but I do very much enjoy it. This is probably one of the traits that I've played the least amount with. So basically what they can do without it just relating to dancing is they can get energized by using the interaction party time, and a disco nap will actually replenish the energy needs faster than a regular nap. Not the most interesting. You're going in Grim. Clumsy barely does anything, but I do love the little animations with it. Clumsy is one of those little details that I absolutely adore about The Sims 4. They're more likely to get electrocuted, more chance of failure when engaging in sports. They also like stumble when they're washing up. They can kind of like fumble plates and things like that. I absolutely adore clumsy Sims. Do I think they deserve Motherload? Probably not, but they are definitely top of Rosewood. I think I prefer evil Sims over mean Sims. I just feel like they have more of an edge about them. They kind of just relish in people's disappointment a little bit more than mean Sims, so it's going in Rosewood. Materialistic Sims, it's fun for storytelling, but I mean, they just get tense when they haven't bought something in a while, and they'll just like get wants to buy different things and like waste their money, which I mean is alright. It's just like not the most interesting gameplay to me ever, so it's going straight into average. Bro Sims, I love the little like clique of a bro sim. However, I really don't use it all that often because I feel like I probably would go for like outgoing over bro just because it affects more of the game to me personally. I definitely feel like this one is an average for me. Gloomy Sims, I really like. I really like that gloomy is a trait. I like that they get sad moodlets more often. It honestly, again, adds a little bit more challenge to the game because it doesn't feel like everything is so happy-go-lucky. It's going in Rosewood. I honestly will probably like place it in the middle. Paranoid, I also really, really like. I like that they can have interactions of people thinking that they're talking about them. I like that they can share conspiracy theories. I think it's a very, very interesting trait. And I think you can tell a lot of stories with the paranoid trait. Like, I don't think it just has to be like about Sims thinking that they're always talking about them. For example, I had a Sim who hates water and she's like paranoid over water, so I had her have the paranoid trait, and it actually makes it really interesting to play. So again, Rosewood. Lazy Sims, I do quite like. I do feel like this is in the same kind of range as like cheerful and gluttonous for me, in the fact that I like the physical attributes that it has in gameplay. Like, obviously they don't like doing exercise. They'll become like tense or angry if you make them do fitness. Again, it adds that sort of difficulty to the game because I feel like everyone else absolutely adores fitness, even if they're not like an active sim. It's just not one that I will go to very often. I do like perfectionist. Do I actually think it does a lot in the game though? Basically, it just affects their moodlets. They all get embarrassed if it's not perfect. Maybe I was relying on this one a little bit too much. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think you like belong in here. It's good for those Sims who you do want to, I guess, be creative and actually take it really, really hard on themselves if they don't get everything perfect, which is what I tend to use it for. I will say I don't like goofball as much as I like childish. I think childish is the superior trait when it comes to this kind of thing. Goofballs just really want to be funny. They're kind of like the class clowns of The Sims, so I'm gonna put them in Rosewood. They're all right. They're not the most interesting. Family oriented. I love family oriented Sims. Is it because I myself am a family oriented sim? Probably. I'm now realizing I just like traits that I also feel like I relate to. My klepto's #1, baby! Not the most interesting though, is it? Family oriented. When it comes to like gameplay specifically, happy when interacting with family, sad when not around family, get loads of whims for interacting with family. I'm really, really sorry to have to do this to all us family oriented simmers, but it's not great. Non-committal. I absolutely bloody love non-committal. Again, little bit of a challenge. I love how they can throw an absolute spanner in the works to any storyline you are trying to tell. Honestly, I think they're on par with Jealous Sims. I will take a bullet for bookworm Sims. I love bookworms. I love how they can analyze books. I like how they can talk about books to like other Sims. I love how they will always constantly like go towards books and try to read them. I know that's not for everyone, but personally it is for me. I love a little writer, story, an author who's just like obsessed with books, a little librarian. Everything about bookworm is fun for me in the game. I don't think it's the most perfect trait. I don't think it has like a lot of things that it can do, but I think because I relate to it personally and I really just have a soft spot for bookworm Sims, it's gonna go in Rosebud, probably around like Music Lover. Same area. Romantic Sims, they are fun, aren't they? Little bit of drama queens. It's going in Rosebud. Self-assured Sims, confident. Again, I feel like helps with promotion. I don't know if that is scientifically accurate. I mean, it is basically just feeling confident moodlet now that I look at it. So therefore it's going in, I don't even think it will be like top of crumple bottom. Hot-headed, absolutely adore hot-headed. I love the mood swings that they can go through. I love how easily it is to like irritate them. I love that they like stomp around and get all angry. Yes. Snob Sims, honestly, not one of my most favorite traits. I never ever really have snob Sims, and that's because Nancy Langrab is a snob and I don't want my Sims to relate to her ever, if I'm being completely honest. I do like how they have little personality quirks. Like actually if you drink from a bottle of nectar in front of a snob Sim, if you have horse wrench, they actually like act in disgust. They're like, ugh. But really all I see if I ever play a snob Sim is the fact that they get uncomfortable about like poorly decorated rooms, and that just isn't the most interesting thing. So honestly, going in Grim. I never play with a neat Sim because I feel like it's just not even worth it to use a trait slot on neat. Oh, they can do the cleaning frenzy, which they'll get an 8-hour happiness buff of cleaning. They just basically autonomously clean. Yeah, I'm not surprised that I don't really use this all that often. I don't think like chores are the most interesting gameplay. I would like it if you could actually assign chores to kids and do like a reward system through like the parenthood thing that we have. Therefore, it is going in Grim. I love loners. They definitely add a little bit of challenge. They get uncomfortable in most situations, honestly. I love a little bookworm loner, so this might be my biasness coming towards it, but loner is definitely going straight up into Rosebud, and I want to say like, yeah, probably around these three. Loyal, one of the newest Loyal babes, came in October 2022. So I actually haven't played around an awful lot with Loyal, but from what I have seen, especially when it comes to adults actually like telling off children, I really like it. If a Sim is mean to another Sim around a Loyal Sim, they'll actually call them out on their BS. They basically just do some interactions off their own accord, which I do like, and then they do actually get some emotions for that. So pretty average. I'm gonna put it like closer to top of average though, because I like when they do interactions without us telling them that they should have to do those interactions. I like when it actually feels as if traits have an effect on how your Sims like act towards others without you constantly having to micromanage. Overachiever, I actually really like. Again, I think it's a very, very interesting trait, and I really wasn't expecting them to ever give us a trait like this. They build their skills twice as fast as regular Sims. However, it's actually really hard for them to build relationships, and I adore that. This is going straight into Motherload purely for that reason, because I feel like traits should have more of an effect on your Sims relationships, or if you interact with like another Sim and they have like a trait that conflicts with yours, or just a trait that is hard to get on with, I feel like it should have an effect. And the fact that Overachiever does that, yes, I'm all for. I really like socially awkward Sims. Maybe it's just because like I want to take them under my wing and like protect them with everything that I have. I love the fact that they can like confess to being socially awkward. I love that interactions don't always go well for them. I think it's such an interesting trait. Again, I'm gonna put it in Motherload. I apparently really like the high school years traits. Horse lover, I genuinely don't think this is quite as bad as like Cats and Dog Lover and The Animal Enthusiast. It's gonna go in Grim just because I do like the fact that you can interact with horses more easily, and obviously that helps with like training horses, probably helps with like training cats and dogs and teaching them tricks and stuff, but like I never do that anyway, so meh. Rancher, I honestly didn't think this did much when I first played Horse Ranch. It kind of catfished me in that sense a little bit. You can actually feel tense if you feel as if your crops aren't doing well or you're not like living up to the rancher energy, but it also gives you an uptick in actually finding like valuables in the grass. I like how it can help you along your way, but I'm gonna say pretty average on that bad boy, so I'm gonna put it right there in crumple bottom. And honestly, party animal, such a waste of a trait, irrelevant. Like there is literally no point to give your sim the party animal trait. They can do party tricks, which is like one interaction that they can do by clicking on themselves, so they just perform it anyway, even if no one's watching them, which feels very, very weird. They can rave about parties, remember past parties, do vibe checks, but none of that has any effect on like gameplay whatsoever. They're just like mini interactions that your sim can basically do with themselves. This is the one where if you go onto like Sims fandom and like read the difference between Sims 3 and Sims 4, you're like, Sims 4 traits aren't that great. Because in the Sims 3, they have stuff like when the sim and a lover make out at a party, they game awesome party make-out social. They can dance wildly together, they can rock out to on different radio stations, they have different types of dancing. Anyone that sim invites to a party will attend. Like, that is so OP. Guests attending the Sims party are more likely to bring gifts. Sims 4 could never. She is irrelevant. No, don't pop up there into Grim. Don't bring your party enthusiasm over here. Did you not hear? I'm an introvert. Get in Tragic Clown at the bottom of the pile, might I add, where you belong. Insider is still more annoying, but you're a close second, party animal. Honestly, I feel like if I maybe sat here and thought about all of these for a few more hours, I probably would have a slightly different ranking. Some of them, if I went through like every single thing that they bring to the game, would maybe be bumped up slightly or be dragged down slightly. I'm kind of surprised by some of these, like self-assured and perfectionist, that I actually use an awful lot in my game, that now that I've read up the details on them, I'm like, ooh, probably not gonna go to those all that often because they just don't bring much to the table. This goes to show that I actually love some Sims 4 traits kind of more than I initially thought I did, which is actually really, really nice. I definitely feel like so many of these fly under the radar until I actually start thinking about them like logically. I do still wish that traits did more. Like I said, when you compare it to like the Sims 3 and seeing like all the things that happen like autonomously with Sims 3 and different interactions that they can do and different things that like either lend to your gameplay or make it even more difficult, Sims 4 is kind of average in a lot of their traits, so I do wish that they had more of an effect on those kind of things. You should let me know though what your favorite traits are. Like I said, if you want to do this yourself, I will leave a link down below. You can share it to me over on Twitter at EnglishSimmer. I absolutely love to see how people feel about certain things within the game. The only trait that was actually missing from this tier list when I went on it was the party animal, so you might need to like add that yourself if you care about it, or if you're like me, just slap it straight in Tragic Clown and forget about it. Whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with me, let me know if you learned anything from this video about any certain traits. I appreciate you all. If you have any other tier ranking videos, like when it comes to The Sims 4 or like any Sims franchise, leave your comments down below. I love getting ideas. I love knowing what you lot want to see, and I also just love tier ranking videos. I think they're some of my most fun ones to record. Thank you all so much for being here, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.